The folks over at Fox News' The Five decided to tackle the debate over a shorter 4-day work week.
Sure was well-reasoned.
Somewhat hilarious results. Let's take a listen to what they had to say.
Democrats in California are trying to cancel hard work. Here's their idea. State reps are proposing a 4-day work week for companies with more than 500 employees. That's right. They're proposing shortening your office work week from 40 hours to just 32 hours. But get this part. Your salary stays the same. So it's 32 hours of work for 40 hours of pay. And if you want to work more than 32 hours, you have to get paid time and a half for overtime. And remember, this is happening in the midst of an alarming labor shortage in America. Employers cannot find workers. There's somewhere around 10 million jobs unfilled in this country right now. Are they lazy, this generation, Judge? Is that what it is? Or have they figured out life is short? We've been taught to work so hard. You waste your whole life working. You could be taking it easy and get overtime.
It's destroying my social life. And that's when it starts hurting me, I care. But you know what I think they realized? They realized in a 40-hour week, maybe at most you work 32 hours.
Right.
You know what the thing is? There is a lot of inefficiency built in the workplace, including even coming and going to work. I never understood a lunch hour, but then again, I don't have kids. I don't need to run to to do errands.
Right.
So I just sit around and I always have, my assistant. I pull a Jesse and have my assistant do everything. But you know what? This is going to end up turning us into a virtual reality cocoon. Everybody's just going to evolve into staying home. They're going to get everything they need at their house. They're going to get really large. And the only people that are going to be in the outside world are the people who can't afford the inside world.
We can't help California. They have to help themselves.
They got a lot of
Are we,
delegates.
Dana, like France?
They do have, but not ours.
It's funny that you say that. I wrote France right here on my paper because if you want to be more like France, there's eat more croissants. Don't go this route. The other thing is they did in France, if you look at their economy, they're terrible. But also, for a while, they were like, well, we don't really want to put our defense money into NATO because it's like we want to spend money on our other. We don't have enough. Okay, I'm not trying to do a French accent. You're not allowed.
Yes, you are.
The employer is not allowed to contact you on the weekend. It is illegal for an email to be sent to you on the weekend in France, for example. And here's the other thing. If a company thinks that they can attract more talent by saying, you're going to work 32 hours a week at this salary, great. But the government shouldn't tell people to do that.
So they hit a lot of highlights there.
That was, wow.
Yeah, I like when she brings up NATO just randomly, like,
Yeah,
wait, what? So first of all, the framing is like, this is just about workers being lazy. And they try to frame it in this like populist way. Mm-hmm. And then it devolves into Greg Gutfeld talking about like his assistant and how this is going to hurt him personally in his social life.
Look, Gutfeld, you work at 5 o'clock and at 11 o'clock. Dude, you're probably chilling like most people in media all day. You get to run your errands and do basically whatever you want and show up to the office at like 2 to 3 o'clock.
Right.
Have all your meals catered. You get paid a fat salary and you don't actually have to deal with any of the vagaries of normal everyday life.
Right.
I'm not saying that I necessarily
like to hold
do that either.
Like, oh, these people are just so lazy. And
California
can't help themselves.
We live a good life. That's cool.
Well,
like
here's the other thing. I liked the setup too from Geraldo, who was trying to do it in this almost like scaremongering voice of like, you're only gonna work 32 hours, but you're gonna get paid the same thing. Isn't that terrible? Of course, what they never bring up is any of the actual research or statistics around this, which shows that when they've tried 4-day work weeks in other parts of the world, productivity actually increased. Businesses saved on cost, workers had more work-life balance, and productivity actually went up. Because the only person who made a decent point there, Gutfeld, about how like, yeah, really, when you're working the 40-hour week, are you really working 40 hours or are you,
That's actually true.
That's actually true.
Yeah.
And so when people have a more limited time, they know like, I have this much time, I gotta get it done. Their productivity goes up. They get the same amount of work done in a lesser time. And I think we saw that during the pandemic too, when people had more flexibility and there wasn't as much, and they were, white collar workers were working from home. There wasn't enough like, let's have a coffee and bullshit. It was more just like, let me get the work done and then let me actually live my life. I also happen to love the law in France that they were freaking out about that says basically like, there is a work time and there is also life outside of work. I think that having, as Americans, like one of the things that we actually sort of tiptoed into during the pandemic was the understanding that there are things outside of the workspace that matter and that people are valuing things like family time and, living in a more sort of like affordable and comfortable environment, and having that kind of balance between what they're doing in the office and what the rest of life actually looks like.
Yeah, I think.
Nancy, my opinion, bruh. I don't have a precise answer as to le proposal right or not, but I can give you possible perspectives from it. Utwamosi is a drop off from 40 to 32, which is 4 days a week, and you still earn the same money. The perspective of an employee, that's a good deal. Yeah, but because the employee, and was going to waking up every day, except weekend emsebenzini can be tiring wasn't to a point of ube fatigue udik. So by we can go, but you still earn the same amount of money. That's a fucking good deal. Like you be like, yeah, I'ma take that shit. Yeah, boy. Because it's not like my is a truth. Now gonna go hours can. But then let's look at it the perspective of an employer. That means the person owning the company of the business. I feel like that's something that they wouldn't like. I feel like they'll agree more if imali ngacuthwa. Yabo, efithe like 2 hours. Yabo. Then they'll be like, okay, in terms of paying people, better. But then here's the thing. Anithi mosi, njengoba becutha hours mos ne, bacutha ntoni? I-productivity mos. And it. So if there's less productivity, that means i-profit ziyacutheka. Then, am I making sense? I hope I am. So, from an employer's perspective, I don't think most of them will like it because ngoku bazobona okay, the amount of work put ke ngoku izocutheka. Then what makes it worse is that they still have to pay them the same amount of money. So there's a chance maybe uzofela ngathi yeah, I'm going to lose ke ngoku. Yabo. So I do not have a precise answer as to whether I agree with the idea of by 4-day work. I don't have a precise answer because if you look at it in an employer's perspective view, it's a good deal. If you look at it as an employer perspective view, it might not be something good for them. That's what I think. But what I know is if you put less work onto something than you used to, i-productivity yayo izocutheka. And the outcome from that would probably be more or less compared to what you would get back when you put at this much hours or this much effort or work kuloo nto uyenzayo. Ifana le way supply and demand. And the most when try demand is high, that means abantu they want more avocados. There should be more. Funeka supply inyuke mos. And it. Funeka supply inyuke mos. Yeah. So iyahambelana. Xa demand less, yabo, that means supply izofuneka ithobeke mos ne. And it. Izofuneka ithobeke. Ukuba ndikhanile lo way. I'm not really good into the economics, bravo. And besides, into the economics, when it comes to studying it, but I don't mind having knowledge of it. But test tech, but when it comes to understanding how imali goes about, I wouldn't mind learning information that I would apply in real life. Yeah, boy. Personally. Yeah, that's my opinion, mfethu.
Mnabra, dithi igoal yethu as humanity is to improve equality of life for thina sonke siyi-humanity. If we as humanity have reached a stage whereby we can afford to allow workers to attend umsebenzi 3 or 4 days per week and structure society singa collapse, I feel like we should do it We should do it. Bekufaka ukuthi siyayenza loo nto. If people will still remain fed, if people will still be able to pay for medical bills, they will still be able to do everything, and the companies will still function. I believe that the goal yethu as a humanity should not be to increase the profit margins zabantu who are at the top, but to improve equality of life, yeah, everyone. Yabo. So I think it would be a good idea if it's stable. Apa in South Africa, I don't think it would be feasible yet because we do not have the resources of a country like America. But eventually, if America and other countries that do have such resources do it, it will start being seen as a trait of developed nations, and maybe even our government will start striving towards that. And I think that would be a good thing. I think that would be a good thing. Because, the 5 hour work week doesn't make sense unless we are just a civilization trying to survive. But dedicating your life to work and not having anything. Like I can tell you, when is the last time we hung out together? Tell me, if we had a 1 day work week, would we have not worked? Would we have not hung out by now? How many more of your friends would you be seeing? How more important would your friendships, your relationships be more valuable? How would they be more valuable if the life that you were living wasn't so demanding? So I'm just saying, bruh, like we should, the human experience should be made as better as possible for the following generations. I think that should be our goal as a humanity. And reducing your work days is one of those. Is a step in the right direction. Putting certain people at the top and allowing a profit to be incentive has been a great determinant of growth. But at some point, we have to acknowledge that growth is not the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is improving equality of life. We're not becoming millionaires for the sake of becoming millionaires here. That's not our goal. Or at least that shouldn't be our goal.
No, I was just talking about it yesterday. This thing. Look, less working hours means more rest time. Right? More time for people to do the things that they actually want to do, right? As opposed to being forced to wake up and go to work. Which I can understand why they say a study proved or increase productivity for those 4 days that you're going to work. When you consider institutions, vital service institutions like your police stations and your hospitals, for instance, of course there'd be certain services jailing or ditlo hamperela because of a 4-day working week. But I think all in all, for administration purposes, so they'll find a way to work around it. There'll be people who will overtime and such and such. But overall, I think it's a good idea. Look, some things they shouldn't be cast in stone. Right? In fact, nothing should be cast in stone when it comes to increasing productivity and how to go about it. Right? Honestly, if you look at the salary job to the wage job and so forth, how we compare the hour tse di berekang. People are not happy. Employees are not happy, like at all. So this would be one of those things, it kind of shows the working man, or big business and big corporations are kind of, considering how employees feel.
I think that if the statistics from the countries that did try it show more benefits, not just in productivity, but also work-life balance, then it should be given a fair chance. It's a win-win for companies as well. But then for physical factory workers on some jobs, it may not work well, like in molding, because those are time dependent, meaning that they actually have to wait for molds to heat up, take shape, and cool in a predetermined manner. So for those types of jobs, they would get less done because they would have less time to allow the processes to follow through.
Yeah, bro, I love it, man. I love free market, basically. Yeah, but I get what they're saying. Also love it uba zingashorter, because nyhani xa zishorter as besitsho yenza laa nto uba okay cool kubekho laa work-life balance, which is most people ngoku realize uba it's needed with izinto zo-COVID and all nje. But there's still people who, e.g. myself, even uba ngathiwa bra mandisebenze for 2 hours a day, I know I won't work only for 2 hours. Even after the 2 hours, I'll still do other gigs, other jobs. I'll take on more work because ndim ndinjalo. Yabona ayizundistraina kangako, ayizuba into endisturbayo okanye take her away from other aspects of my life. Yabona. So basically being a free market where kulo msebenzi benza kanje, then wena uyadicida bra, you decided uyokwenza i-environmental health, uyazazi hours zayo bazithini, yabo. Ngowuye kwi-medicine, yabo, where uzosebenza late, uzosebenza nanini. I went kwi-design because of how I know uba xa uyi-design uzo-interacta nabantu kanje, this is what's expected out of you and ezo nto njalo. Yeah, I say let's just make it free, and when you choose, let's not force abantu. And futhi, hours near rate should still be the same. Awuzusebenza like 2 hours, then you expect to get paid for like 40 hours. Okay, I'm not for it. Because now, if I'd only company, I'm paying you for the amount of hours you worked for.
You can't say umsebenzi must be a free market. Then ultimately into advocate because people will be willing to do anything to stay fed. If umsebenzi was, if you applied free market principles on umsebenzi, everyone would be working 7 days a week, 24 hours. Or the bare minimum, if umuntu kunyanzelekile alale 3 hours, ebezolala lo 3 hours asebenze yona. I think we both don't want that, because free market principles zipushela what are you willing to do, how far are you willing to go for something, and I think people are willing to do anything to stay alive. So not ngemisebenzi fra. Like, I vehemently disagree with statements of umsebenzi. Okay, uthi free market, but I do not believe that it should be a free market umsebenzi. I feel like umsebenzi should be legislated, ube regulated, because umzekelo, if you need a job desperately enough and your boss slaps you, because boss wakati free market ngani bambisa ungahamba kusala uzolahlekelwa umsebenzi wakho, most people will be like, okay, ahlale and they bite the bullet, ahlale ngokukhwathwa umkhosi wakhe bethetheni. But if kukho legislation ne-regulations that protect the employee from the employer, which is the current situation ngoku, I would be advocating ukuthi law legislation iye further. There's a reason why kukho ngoku kukho 40 hours. It's because given the chance, people would be working 7 days a week. So, fine, I get it, and I think that's something that we could work towards. Say, Chonge, how do we cater for such people? But work drive engako, we outlier. I'm sure now you would agree that we outlier. Ekuthini upusha kangakanani, and ekuthini wenza the same thing or wenza something that you're passionate about, it differs. For some people umsebenzi wabo is ukuxwaya amaqamba 10 kg okanye 20 kg kwi-factory, and loo mntu loxwaya amaqamba for 20 kg akayenzi because of a passion or i-drive yakhe, uyenza because it's something they have to do to stay alive. We baxelile now uyaziva xa sithi 40 hours, but the whole gist of le nto le is the fact yokuthi i-profits ziya-increase ne, and employees are getting less and less, okanye even if they are getting the same, what they have is valued less and less. Oko kukhangelwa ihlobo lokustabilize i-society, uba okay, i-society is becoming more and more unstable, yabo, because of this. Strikes ziba more frequent, people are more prone to violence. Nje sonke all around the world, we're all asking for it ngoku, yabo. Giving people more days off of work to do ezi zinto. Let's say mosanditsho noyi-designer, let's say ubudizayinela esikolweni ne, that's your job ukuthi design. Andazi ezinye aspects ze-design ukuthi nenza ntoni ne-day to day, but uyawenza your day to day job. Xa uyigqibile lo day to day job, you have i-choice ke ngoku yokuthi okay, focus on YouTube, qala i-studio, recruit i-artists, wenze zonke ezo zinto ezisecaleni ngexesha lakho, if wena you feel the need yokuthi upushe. But for people who feel the need yokuthi no, mna what I value is ifamily, makaspende ixesha nefamily yakhe. Umuntu osuspende ovaluisha i-vacations nezinto ezinjalo makazikhuphe on vacations. I do not think it's possible for someone to go from here, even from PE to Durban, as enjoy for a weekend and then I'll be back to PE on Monday. At least if you had a Friday, ubungasuka ke ngolwesine late, usuke ufike pha late, enjoy Saturday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday uyabuya endleleni ubuya, okanye ubuye kwa Sunday yenzele uzoresta xa ufika ube urested up for Monday. So nje bra,
I get what you're saying, bro, but like I feel like we say we extremes. Yeah, but the context that we're talking about most was lendo hours. So I was referring to Lonto. Now I still say magabe free umsebenzi. Uba okay, cool. What hours that specific field can set? Yeah, but ikuyo, bro, as a graphic designer, we don't need to be at work 5 days a week from 8 to 4. We don't need that. Yeah, because sisoko sisebenza ekhompyutheni and inspiration yethu, it's something maybe online or out there in the world, yabo. And futhi, we get to experiment with a whole lot of different materials engazubakho maybe office, yabo. Funeka ujump from studio to what. So if sibon, okay, cool, graphic design is something that could literally work if 3 days sister office, and then the other days you're still at work but like in a different type of space, you clock in yeah, but that would be okay. It's like the reasons why maybe I never chose indoor as a health, because I know but andifuni mna ndibe semsebenzini after like nge-late hours in the afternoon bese officing. Even semsebenzini ndifuna uba comfortable in my own space while I'm doing my own thing. Yabo, ubi free kanjalo mna. I am all for it because ewe andithi mayibe free as in uba we both have the same company emva kokwi-employees zakho wena uzibhatala i-50,000 while ezam ndizinike i-5,000. Yabo, that's messed up ke ngoku. Yabo, that's messed up. Anditsho kanjalo but not wonke umntu bra needs iba i-week yakhe ithenwe into 4 days, into 3 days, because it honestly won't help kwezinye country. Honestly won't help. E.g. up in South Africa, I don't see it doing shit. Because look at how we spend weekends zethu ngoku. Weekends zethu, we don't use them as into your resta, as into your thing. Siyasela qha. Yabo. Most of us kuyaselwa qha, which is into futhi ephinde bene influence on how our weekdays are. Because Monday ngoku recovery day. It's not like mini where you actually up and working. Don't. Yabo. So I don't see it making a difference because abantu bazohlala bangenzi into. Yabo. Bakhona abantu abazidingayo uba la veki literally end because that's where they get their motivation. And if you know about you someone like that, choose a field ezo accommodate loo nto. Yabo, choose a field ezo accommodate loo nto. Ewe ke bakhona like yabona not like I feel like when into you're concentrate kuyo then uba okay cool the minute be free every possible firm, every employee could make decisions zakhe then ke ngoku misuse employers zakhe. No, I'm not referring to that. I'm just concentrating on the time issue. Okay, but like thinking about it, yabona, I get where you're coming from because we can look at it this way. Free market is to economists what a frictionless world is to physicians. Yeah, well, it's what it is to physics. It's kind of like not the real world because of its structures, because the free gravity, then we can't just have isn't impossible. We have to consider gravity. Yeah, but it helps predict izinto ezininzi if bekuthiwa okay cool ngoku i-economy ayizudetermine maybe i-demand value into ezinjalo yabo. So with that said, I feel like we can try and get as close as possible with free market yabo to minimize inefficiency. As I mentioned, up in South Africa, weekends we're not working, we're not looking at umsebenzi wethu. Siyasela qha. So imagine those more days. Abantu will still drink. It's not like abantu bazophumla okanye benze into ethile. As your working hours zishortnishiweyo, abantu bahlale bazokwenza the same thing. Uba ubucofa uTwitter for 4 hours usefowunini. The minute bathi umsebenzi wehliselwe ngoku, it's not like wawuzocofa. Abantu bazocomplain uba okay cool the nomsebenzi makehliselwe because ngoku hours ehliselwe and there's no work. Abantu abazothi okay cool I'll be able to manage la msebenzi. But as I mentioned before, Glover is not in there are situations okanye there's fields ezithile where we'll feel like okay cool free market masiyilimite ingabi as massive because maybe loo nto ibenefita i-society ngendlela ethile. Let's say if you're a doctor, if you're a doctor, like ifield yakho maybe it needs ba kube kumntu every other day yabo. So maybe yona singayibona ngendlela ethile. It really does depend your field bra. Mna ndisho loo nto mayibe free. People should just open up qha. Then uzothi usakhula bra like zezinto masizama uzidestroya bakwa izi-structures zasesikolweni sonke sifundiswa into eyi-1 sibhantshwa sonke zezinto endithi like you should be doing what you're trying to do. Uyazazi bungubani, you know what you can manage, you know what you need. And futhi if you do decide bra uyosebenza umsebenzi oyaka yi-1 ngeveki oyangemini eyi-1, you should be expecting, okay, cool, I'll be paid for only 1 day. I won't be paid as umtu emsebenzini wakhe usebenza for like 4 days. Yabo, I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say, bro. Nah, that's just my argument.